Grace, mercy, and peace to you from God our Father and from our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. Dear brothers and sisters in Christ, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Most of us have probably heard these words or a similar saying at one time or another. Perhaps your mother spoke them to you when you were a young child and crying because someone at school got the same lunchbox or dress or haircut as you. Imitation is the highest form of flattery, you've been told. Now, what our parents and others may have been trying to tell us is that the person who is copying us looks up to us and wants to be more like us. There are times, however, when we want to be one of a kind. We would prefer if others did not copy us because we don't want them to be like us. We want to be our own person. At the end of the book of Deuteronomy, we read a section that seems to indicate that Moses was a one-of-a-kind prophet. There has not arisen a prophet since in Israel like Moses. Was this a note that no one could match the great power and wonders of Moses? Certainly there were many prophets who followed Moses and were important in the life of Israel. Elijah, Elisha, Isaiah, Amos, Jeremiah, Nathan, and the list goes on. These prophets were great in their own ways as well. Some of them performed wondrous miracles, like Elijah and Elisha, who each brought someone back from the dead, something that Moses had never done. Some of these prophets had great visions of glorious things, like Isaiah's visions of the new Israel and Ezekiel's visions of the heavenly temple. All of these prophets were empowered by God's word to bring God's word to God's people. So what is it then that sets Moses apart, that none had arisen like him? Well, we read on. There has not arisen a prophet like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. Moses had a special relationship with God. Moses talked directly to God, face to face, like friends talking to one another. When Moses went up on Mount Sinai and received the 10 Commandments and the other instructions from the Lord, he was speaking directly to God. No other prophet of old had the same relationship with God. The other prophets had visions and dreams, not direct conversations face to face with the Creator of the universe. Moses indeed was unique. Moses was set apart also because of all the signs and the wonders that the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt, and for all the mighty power and all the great deeds of terror that Moses did in the sight of Israel. No other Old Testament prophet brought numerous plagues upon a nation like Moses did in Egypt in order to bring God's people out from captivity. No other prophet performed nearly as many or as nearly large a spectrum of miracles and signs as Moses. Moses is held up as the model prophet of Israel. And there's another reason that this note is there, that there has not been a prophet like Moses to arise in Israel. This isn't just some biographical mark to show how great Moses is in the history of Israel. You know, if we look back a few chapters in chapter 18, Moses made a promise to the Israelites, saying, "The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your brothers. It is to him that you shall listen. Just as you desired of the Lord your God at Horeb on the day of the assembly when you said, 'Let me not hear the voice of the Lord my God or see his great fire anymore, lest I die.' And the Lord said to me, 'They are right in what they have spoken. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their brothers. And I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command.'" The Israelites are looking for an imitation of Moses. They're looking for the one who will be like Moses, speaking with God face to face, performing signs and great wonders, showing great power and deeds. They're waiting for a prophet like Moses because this prophet will be the one to lead Israel and to lead God's people in a way that had not been led before or since Moses. The one who comes imitating Moses will not do so because of flattery, but because he comes as the great prophet of God Almighty. While each and every prophet of old that came after Moses had some of the characteristics of Moses, none were the imitation that the people longed to see. 1,400 years after Moses, this prophet arises in Israel. Like Moses, the king would have had him killed as a child. Moses was rescued by being placed in a basket in the Nile River. The new prophet is rescued when his father is warned in a dream and told to flee to Egypt. Like Moses, this new prophet would perform great signs and wonders, bringing forth greater water than the water Moses brought forth from the rock. This new prophet would bring forth living water to those who thirst. So also the new prophet would give food to God's people. But greater food than the manna Moses had provided. He brings living bread that comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. Jesus came into the world as a prophet like Moses. But not just like Moses. Greater than Moses. Jesus came with greater power and authority than Moses because he is God in the flesh. He doesn't just speak with God face to face like Moses. No, he is God. He does great wonders and mighty works by healing the sick, feeding the multitudes, casting out demons, restoring sight to the blind, making the lame walk, and raising the dead to life. And in the greatest showing that Jesus indeed is that prophet like Moses, Moses comes again on the scene. Having been dead for 1,400 years, Moses appears with Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration. Moses and Elijah talking face to face with Jesus. And what are they talking about? Well, Luke tells us they're talking about Jesus' departure. And in the Greek, that word departure is exodus. They're talking about Jesus' exodus, which he would accomplish at Jerusalem. They're talking about Jesus coming death at the hands of sinful men. And finally, the promised Moses has come, who would die as Moses had died. His eyes were undimmed and his vigor unabated. Moses' life was taken by God at the time and place that God appointed, when he was still strong in the flesh. So also with Jesus. Moses, at the end of his life, had brought the Israelites to the edge of the promised land of Canaan. Jesus, through his life and death, has opened the gates of the greater promised land of the kingdom of heaven. And he gives us entrance by taking our sins upon himself on his cross, and gives to us forgiveness, righteousness, and life. Moses, Elijah, and Jesus are talking about Jesus' exodus, his departure, and also our exodus. Our departure from the slavery to sin and death and the grave. For Jesus comes to free us of all of these. Jesus isn't just an imitation of Moses. He is the greater prophet like Moses promised of old. Through his life, his death, and resurrection, he has brought God face to face with all people, not just Moses. So now we see God face to face. We see God face to face in Jesus Christ, our Lord. We know that the God of the universe loves us so much that he sent his own Son as the greater Moses to live and die so that we can receive the blessings that he gives to us. In Jesus, we see the fullness of God's mercy and love for you and for me. So now we speak face to face with Jesus when we hear his word, receive his sacraments, and return to him with our prayers and our prayers. In Jesus' name. Amen. We rise and confess together our faith in the words of the Apostles' Creed. I believe